Hello, Incredible Moms. This is Crystal Evaristo with the Incredible Moms podcast, where we discuss getting pregnant, being pregnant, having babies, being a mom, and so much more. We hope you enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Kazmere today. She's going to tell us all about her pregnancies and her kids. Hey, Kazmere.
Hi.
So I'm so happy to have you on. This is our first podcast over the phone, so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
It's my first podcast ever, so I'm super excited, but I do love listening to them.
Oh, awesome. So tell me a little about yourself and your pregnancies and all that.
Oh, well, I am 32 and I have 3 kids, biological, and then I have one awesome bonus daughter who I claim as my own, but I didn't give birth to her. Riley's 9. Sophia, she is 6. Skylar is a year, almost, she'll be 2 next month, and then Avery will be 7 months next month. When I had Riley, I was, when I got pregnant with him, I was 21, so I had him at 22, and we were living in California at the time. So his pregnancy, birth, everything was a dream. Like, it was the easiest thing I've ever been through. Like, I was able to breastfeed. He met all his marks at an early age, except for talking. He didn't talk till he was like after 2, but I didn't have any morning sickness with him. I didn't even pop until like 8 months pregnant with him is when like I actually started to really show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, being young, I was super depressed and going through all the, emotions of being, 21, 22, having a kid, so it was kind of rough. So I did have really bad postpartum depression with him. It was really rough.
Did you not have a lot of support from your family and all that? Or
At first, no, I didn't. Not at all. My dad, he was like, well, it is what it is, but my mom was like really angry about it, which I totally get. She didn't want, me to have a baby at such a young age. But she had, my oldest brother, she was 19 when she had him. So she just didn't want me to struggle like she did. So I totally understand. But I feel like having him at a younger age, it kind of like made me grow up,
Right.
So
that's the same exact thing that happened to us. We got pregnant at 21 and had him like a week after I turned 22, my first one. So we went through all the, mad parent crap. And then you have them and they're like, oh my God, they're so cute. I love them so much. And yeah.
Right. My mom is like, leave my baby alone. Cause my son, he has ADHD and he was diagnosed with autism. Not a lot of people know that because I really don't, tell people. I don't think it's, I don't like when people use it to
get attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like people will be like, oh, it's his disabilities. No, you're not going to use that because then he's going to think in his head that he can do anything because of his disability. And I don't want that for him. I want him to be like, I can do anything
Exactly.
I put my mind to and not use that as a crutch.
That is so, my oldest has high functioning autism too. And that's exactly how we are. That's so weird.
It's funny because, my brother, he actually was like, Riley has Asperger's, but they don't name him anymore. And so I was like, okay, I watched Parenthood where the little boy had Asperger's, but he didn't have as like a higher case. Like he's really high functioning and, I don't really know how to explain it, but have you seen Parenthood?
I have. Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely more, I know what you mean with him. He's a little bit, I don't know the nice word to put it, just a little less functional than our boys, I think.
Right. But Riley, he's high functioning and he's literal. He's very literal. Growing up, my mom was a nurse, so I couldn't eat cauliflower for the longest time because of the stories she would tell me about being a nurse. So I talked to Riley, even now he's 9. I tell him no means no. And you ask for hugs and people should ask you for hugs or anything like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And So he'll say stuff that so like out there, but to him it's like normal. He'll be like, oh, a baby, like if your dog and my dog have sex, a baby will come. And the neighbors are like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
No filter.
He has no filter whatsoever. None. And sometimes I'm like, I am so sorry. And other times I'm like, well, you should have just left him alone, you know? With him, I was a boy mom, you know, for so long. And then his dad has my daughter, Sophia. So I came into her life at 2, and it was just different being a girl mom and a boy mom, you know? Like for her, she was so dainty and delicate. And I'm like, yo, rub some dirt on it, you know? And people are like, she's a girl. And I had to like retrain, you know, myself to be a girl mom because it was so hard. Because I'm like, girl, if you don't just dust it off.
Why aren't you jumping off the couch 500 times? I don't get it.
Exactly. Riley, he would pretend he's Superman, get on the very top of the couch and just jump and be like, I'm okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And like now he has skateboard and he loves to play outside. So he'll get on, we live on a slope. So he'll get on the top of the slope and like stand on the skateboard and he'll be like, Mom, look at me. And I'm like, oh dear Jesus. Yeah.
That's like the opposite of our son because he's like a complete worrywart and doesn't really take any risk at all. So he'll be like, Mama, be careful, be careful. I'm like, dude, like I know what I'm doing. Like, relax.
And that's the thing with Riley. Like he has no sense of being careful. Like, okay, so I don't know if you remember in the Clayton Moms group, my friend actually had posted that a little boy got hit by a car and the dude ran.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, well, that was my son. Like, he hit my kid. He hit him with his car and left him there, you know?
Oh my God.
But yeah, so he was coming out, he was coming out of a street and turning left and the guy was going straight. So I was like, oh my gosh, like you need to pay more attention to what were your surroundings, you know? And that's an issue with him that I've been trying to teach him. Like he has no sense of being careful or something super dangerous and it like stresses me out. Like I have so many gray hairs from it.
I bet. Jeez.
I really do.
How was his labor?
His labor, so my water broke on May 17th at 8:00 in the morning and I had him on May 18th at 5:09 in the morning. So the epidural worked. Everything was just, my mom was like, I cannot believe you're on your phone right now. I was just like on, Facebook and it was just, everything was perfect. Like my epidural was great. I didn't feel any pain. I pushed him. It took me 3 hours and 9 minutes to push his head out.
Ooh.
And they told me if I didn't push his head out in 3 hours, they were going to do a C-section on me. I pushed it out in 3 hours and 9 minutes.
You're like, oh no, it's almost there. You're not doing anything.
Right. Yeah, for real. Like I was 21 hours of labor, 3 hours and 9 minutes to push his head out. But he was born. After that, it was just like, he came out, 5:09 in the morning. He was out.
Was he on time?
I was a week early. So
okay.
I had him on a Tuesday. The Thursday before I had him, she actually stripped my mucus plug. So she was like, you can go into labor now. You can go into labor in a couple days, but, your mucus plug is out. With him, I did have gestational diabetes because diabetes runs in my mom's side of the family. So I had it with him.
Was he a big baby?
No, he was 6 pounds, 14 ounces. Yeah, oh. He was a little thing.
Lucky week for early.
You. I know. I was due. My due date was May 24th, and I had him May 18th. Like a dream pregnancy, dream everything. He was an easy baby, and now that he's older, I'm like, oh my God, what happened to my easy baby?
Right. I know. It's so funny because so many people have a terrible first pregnancy, like as far as like labor wise, they're in labor for like 3 days and don't dilate. And I was like, with my first, I was quick. I was quicker than that, but it was weird. Like, but I always ask people with kids with like autism and stuff, like, because my son was 2.5 weeks early and I was in preterm labor with him. And I was like, thinking maybe that has something to do with it. Like maybe he didn't get enough in the wound, and he has severe asthma too. So I thought maybe that has something to do with it. But I just like to kind of like ask other moms who are kind of like in similar situations. Does your son have any like respiratory issues?
No, my son, nothing. No respiratory issues. He never gets sick ever. Like, I don't know if it was because he was born in California. Like, the weather there is nothing like North Carolina. There's not a lot of pollen like North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first 5 years before my husband got out of the military, we were out there. So,
that's nice.
Right. With my family. So it was 80, 90 degrees all year long, you know? So he would be outside playing in his underwear in the dirt, you know? He wouldn't so I just feel like that also helps with immune systems. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
You know, but
are you from California?
Yeah, I was born and raised in California. Mm-hmm.
So this must be a big difference for you.
I actually love it.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's like, would you move back? No.
Oh wow.
I love it out here. Yeah. I love to go visit, but it's so expensive out there to live. Like the cost of living is ridiculous compared to what we have out here. Like it would be 2 times more a month in California. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. And we moved here from Massachusetts last year and it was a huge change for us. And I like it, but it's hard being away from family.
Yeah. My stepdad's from Boston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's a big Red Sox fan and I'm a big Dodgers fan.
Uh-huh.
So he was really disappointed when we got Mookie Betts.
I know. Boston's like hardcore, like all sports fans. I actually have like Patriot pants on right now. We say that.
Oh my gosh. One year for Christmas, we got him, he likes to grill. So there was like a grill spatula that you can like put the Patriots like logo on your meat when you like cook it.
Oh, like on top of it, like you press it in or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Right?
I'll have to get one of those.
But yeah, he's a big Patriots fan, Boston Red Sox fan.
Nice.
Yeah. Me and my husband actually watched that movie Patriots Day the other day. It was a really good movie.
I don't think I've seen that. I might have.
It was about the bombing in the Boston.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
With Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really good.
Yeah, it was such a good movie.
So you said you have a bonus daughter. How was that? You said it was through marriage. So your husband had a daughter before you guys met, and then she came into your life, or how does that work?
No, well, we met a long time ago, and then we didn't see each other, and then he had her.
Oh, okay.
So he's Riley's dad.
Okay.
And once we moved back here, that's when we got back together and he had her. But I came into her life at 2 because that's when we got back together.
Oh, okay. I'm like, how does the timeline work here? I didn't quite understand.
Right? Everybody asks me that, and it's so funny to say the story. Like there was one time we were all in the bank, and he was like, "Yeah, that's my fiance and the mother of my son, and then that's the mother of my daughter," and everyone was looking at us like, "You guys are insane."
You're like, are they polygamous? Or
right? It cracked me up when they looked, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, just stop talking."
Now, do you guys co-parent well, like with her mom? Her other mom, and
yeah, we do. It's not hard because we talk. Like it's funny because my daughter will be like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, your mom said that you weren't listening." And she's like, "Wait, you talked to my mom?" So it's like a shock to her. Like, "Wait, you guys actually talk, And I'm like, "Yeah, we talk to each other. If you do something here, I'm going to tell her." And she'll text me. It's funny because me and her talk more than they talk, because I feel like we all need to have a relationship in order for Sophia to be happy,
Yeah.
So I just, take the initiative. If like my cousin got married in September, I wanted her to come to, it was our weekend, but we were leaving like Friday or something like that early. And then we weren't coming back until Monday. So like she's really good about, you know, letting us keep her longer, or we'll have her for Christmas break and then we'll split up Christmas and stuff like that. Or like in the summer, she'll be like, you know, can I stay? And I'll text her mom and like, hey, Sophia wants to stay a couple extra days. Is that fine? And she's like, yeah, that's fine, you know? So it's good to have a relationship and not be angry with each other or bitter about anything when it just benefits, you know, our daughter, you know?
Yeah.
And I hear so many stories about women who just don't want relationship with their husband's kids or their man's kids or whatever. And I think that's so like sad, you know, like they didn't do anything to you.
Right. Yeah.
And if you can't suck it up, then you don't need to be with somebody with kids, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I've been in her life since she was 2, and it's funny because she'll be like, well, I had to ask my mom if I came from your belly or her belly, because she doesn't remember, like she doesn't know her parents together because, you know, she was so young. So she has questions now because she has, you know, her mom and then her stepdad, and then she has me and her dad, you know? Mm-hmm. So she does have a lot of questions, and it's kind of hard because her mom, they don't have any other kids yet. But she has, you know, her brother and then her 2 sisters here. And she's like, I want my mom to have a baby. And I'm like, that would be fun, you know, like that would be cool if you had a lot, like all these siblings, because you have 3 over here, then you have 3 more over there. You're going to have a lot of siblings, you know? Wow. And she's like, no, I just want like 1 more.
Let's be clear. I don't need that much competition.
And she's like, and I don't want another brother. 1 brother is fine. And I'm like, well, you can't really pick what you have. So if you have another brother over there, I'm sorry. You know?
That's cute.
Yeah, but she has a big tribe. Like my parents hit like her parents, my husband's mom, and then her stepdad's mom as well. So she has like, I have these many grandparents and all these cousins, and I'm like, you have a big family, you know?
Yeah.
That's always fun.
So how about the next one?
So Skylar is my almost 2-year-old. She was born November of 2018, and she was rough. So I found out I was pregnant March 23rd of 2018. And it was a surprise because we had gotten engaged December of 2017, and our wedding was September of 2018. Oh. So yeah, so when I already had my wedding dress, like I still have it in a box. So when I got pregnant, I was so like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this, you know, like I have my wedding dress already. So, when I got pregnant with her, like the day, it was funny because I was super tired, falling asleep at work. And I'm like, that's not normal, you know? So I went to the Dollar Tree, got my little pregnancy test, and it came up positive. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, hopefully this pregnancy is going to be a dream, just like Riley's was, you know, like it was so easy, smooth sailing. No, it was not. It was not like that at all. From the day I found out I was pregnant, I was sick. I was diagnosed with HG, and that was the worst ever.
And that's just so people know what that is. It's hyperemesis gravidum or something along the lines of that.
Yes, I can never say the words. That's why I'm just like, oh, HG.
And how many, for them to diagnose it, you must have been vomiting at least, I mean, barely able to keep things down most of the time.
Let's just say I was in the emergency department 5 to 6 times out of the month.
Oh, jeez.
With veins so tiny. They're like, why did you wait so long? I said, I have another child and that I take care of. So there'd be days I'd be throwing up, but I wouldn't be able to get to the doctor because my husband works and I had Riley and then Sophia part-time. So there's days that I would go like, wait until Riley gets dropped off at school and then take myself to the emergency department. Or there'd be days where I'd go in the middle of the night because I wouldn't be able to stop throwing up. And they'd have to use a vein finder on me.
Oh, geez.
Because they were, yeah.
So did they ever end up putting in like a PICC line or anything because you were so sick or?
No, I never had to do a PICC line. Thank God. My mom does those. I'm
Oof.
so glad I didn't have to do that. Yeah. They just gave me some fluids, Zofran in my IV, and they would send me home after a couple bags. And then I would just get nervous because, you hear all these bad things like Zofran, you caused all these deformities, but I'm like super sick. So I'm like, just give it to me. I would try not to take any type of medicine or anything like that to, and they're like, you can take it. You can take it. I'm like, no, I'll just take it. I'll just take it, but there comes a point where I'm like, okay, just give it to me because
you need to survive.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, there was days where I'd go to the emergency department because I was throwing up. And then I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes again with her too. And then towards the end of my pregnancy, I was actually diagnosed with pre-eclampsia. My blood pressure was 100 and something, over 100 and something towards the end. So from being sick to having to take Liberide, I was in the hospital at 35 weeks.
For induction or because of the preeclampsia?
Yeah, so they had me running tests for a whole week. And then it was Halloween of 2018. It was the first Halloween I ever missed with Riley, and it broke my heart.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in the hospital. I was like, can I just leave and then come back? And they're like, no, because what if you have a seizure or a stroke and you're not near the hospital? And I'm like, fine,
So they kept you inpatient for a week before actually
because it was too early for me to, they didn't want to induce me at 35 weeks. So they were just trying to keep me, my blood pressure stabilized, but it just kept going up and up. And then at 36 weeks exactly, they induced me. Okay. So they induced me on November 2nd, and I ended up having her on the 3rd.
So it sounds like they tried pretty hard to keep her in as long as possible. At my work, sometimes we're inducing people like super early, like 32 weeks, 30 weeks, because they're so sick.
Yeah. They were trying to, they were trying to wait, 37 weeks, but my blood pressure would it just kept spiking. So they didn't want, me to have a stroke or a seizure or anything like that with the high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. So they ended up inducing me, and the labor was horrible. Oh my gosh. The epidural didn't work. I was in so much pain. He took it out, and then he did it again, and it never worked. And he just kept giving me medicine, and they were like, you literally fell asleep for like 5 minutes. And it felt like I fell asleep for longer than that, Mm-hmm. And that at the time, like my mom was there, like my husband was there and stuff. And he just like hated seeing me in so much pain, it was, oh my gosh, the pain was so unbearable. Like I give it up to people I technically kind of did it natural because the epidurals didn't work, but just, oh my goodness, like it's so painful. And I forgot how painful it was because, the epidural worked for Riley. So mm-hmm. This was just like a total 180 of pregnancies because his was like, oh, a dream. And with her, I'm like, I feel like this is what death feels like.
Right. I always tell my patients too, like Pitocin contractions are a lot different than natural contractions. And it's you go from like 0 to 100, like in like an hour. Mm-hmm. It's like you're fine. And also you're like, holy crap, where's the epidural?
Yeah. I just never wanted another baby after Skylar, but I never dilated to the full 10. Perez came in and said, you're not dilating enough, so we're going to give you a C-section. And at that point, I was like, oh, I don't care. Just take her, But, my mom and my husband was like, no, you don't want a C-section. You've come all this time. And my midwife, Holly, who is, oh my God, she is a godsend. I loved Holly. She was like, no, we're going to see. I was 9.5. I think she said the bottom was fully dilated out, but the top, it was still hard.
You had like a lip, like a anterior lip or something.
Right. So mm-hmm. She ended up having to lift it over Skylar's head for her to come out. Mm-hmm. Skylar wasn't like sitting up or holding her head up around. She's like a bobblehead, even at 6 months old, you know?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it's because she was born early. She had a broken clavicle. She had a heart murmur.
She had a broken clavicle?
When she was born.
Did you have a shoulder dystocia?
No, it just healed on its own. But she had torticollis too. So she wasn't able to like lift her arm. So we would have to lift it for her, move it around, and she would cry, you know, but they didn't want it to become stiff and her not to be able to use it. So when she went to her physical therapist, she's like, I think she has torticollis, which is like a pinched nerve.
Yeah.
Recently, we were worried that maybe her hips weren't formed properly or something. So we took her to get her hips x-rays, but she's physically fine now. It's just, you know, getting ready for her to do stuff on her own. But with the broken clavicle, we had to go get x-rays in Durham, and it literally healed on its own. So it looks like a ball of bone where the broken clavicle
can see
was.
it?
And you can see it in the x-ray. Like, it just looks like a ball.
Okay.
And it healed. And we didn't know she had a broken clavicle until she was in the NICU.
Oh, so the nurse part of me is thinking, like, when I hear broken clavicle, I would assume that either she was tugged way too hard coming out, or you might have maybe her shoulder got stuck and they had to help you kind of like get her out.
But
did anything like that happen?
You also have to remember, I wasn't fully dilated when I delivered her. I was only 9.5 centimeters.
Yeah, I don't know if that would matter. I don't think so. So, and this is when you push out like 8 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, and people sometimes don't even realize what happened. They might try to like put your legs way back, like they put them down and then they throw them back to kind of get that shoulder out.
Yeah, like my knees are by my ears.
Okay, so yeah. So did anyone kind of like push down hard on your pelvis as she was trying to come out too?
Honestly, I don't remember.
I know I had remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Most likely.
I had a nurse on one side and my mom. No, it was my mom and Chris on the other side. And then I had Holly. And I know I had nurses in there, but I don't remember them pushing down on my thing. I know she lifted up and pushed and then they pulled her out. So,
okay. That could be why. Because like I have a friend that her son had torticollis and it was really bad for like a year. She had to go through physical therapy for like a whole year. You couldn't hold the baby like a certain way because like the arm was so sore and like those nerves, like you said, were pinched. So like in order to help it heal, we had to like hold him a certain way.
Yeah.
But she had what we call a shoulder dystocia, which is basically like the baby's, when you're pushing, sometimes the baby's position is in a certain way where the shoulder starts like pushing against the pelvic bone and it can't get out.
Was Tyler stuck in my pelvis and they had to like pull her or what? My husband just walked in.
She had a neutral cord, I know that.
A what?
Neutral cord.
What's that mean?
Cord was on her neck.
No, because you know how her clavicle broke? Did they push down on my pelvis to pull her out or? Oh, he doesn't recall that either. They had to manipulate something internally for her to come out. She was. I think she was stuck though.
Yeah. So that could. Yeah. That's another maneuver they can do. They actually put their hand inside and kind of scoop the shoulder out.
Yeah, that's what Holly. Yeah, she was literally in there and she had to lift and scoop. Yeah, she did have to do that because she was stuck. You're right. I do recall that now.
So that's called a shoulder dystocia. And like those are all things too, like later on, like if you did have like developmental, and then I'm sure you know this, like they ask you certain things like that. Did she have a cord around her neck? Did she have a shoulder dystocia? Because sometimes like the head will pop out and they'll be there for a few minutes trying to get the baby out, which is really scary. But it can also like cut off oxygen to the baby's, brain, which obviously it sounds like it was pretty quick for you. So it's probably not an issue, but because babies just don't usually break a clavicle coming out unless something was done to break that clavicle. Yeah, that's like that's a really scary thing that happens in some deliveries. It's like kind of like one of a labor and delivery's nurse's worst nightmare is a shoulder. Like when it's almost like a medical emergency. If they can't get it out real quick, they start yelling and, getting a bunch of people in the room like right away to kind of help.
Yeah, I know there was a bunch of people in there when she was born. So
that could be why. Sometimes like the patient doesn't even know what's going on because we're just so quick about it. Like, we send a little text page on the computer, shoulder, room 10, run, and then they're all there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
With my last one, he was 11 pounds, 12 ounces. And I didn't have a shoulder, but my midwife had my legs so far up near, like you said, like my ears, like so far up there. And I'm like, why is she doing that? Like it hurts,
Yeah.
But it was probably the only thing that prevented me from having a shoulder because he was so big.
My goodness.
And he came out in 7 minutes and that was horrible. My epidural didn't work. So yeah, so I get it. Thank God I didn't have a shoulder with him because that sucker wasn't going to come out without surgery. If he had it.
Oh my gosh. So crazy. So I pushed her out in 8 minutes. And when she came out, she was 7 pounds, 2 ounces at 36 weeks because of my gestational. And she had like super low blood sugar. And they couldn't get it up. So they ended up I didn't even get to do any type of chest time or
skin to skin.
Skin to skin. That's right.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word. I didn't get any type of skin to skin with her. They took her straight away to the nursery. They had to put an IV inside her umbilical cord. They gave her that little sugar stuff, try to jumpstart her sugars, but it didn't work. So they had to evaluate her overnight, and then Rex, their ambulance, NICU ambulance, had to come and get her that Sunday because I had her on a Saturday. So that Sunday they came and got her and transported her to Rex NICU. And
oh wow,
yeah, and my husband was like in a dilemma because he's like, "Do I stay with you? Do I go?" I said, "Go with her. Like she has nobody. Like I'm a grown up. Go with our baby, So before they took her, they came to the room and let me hold her. She was all wired up and everything, but they let me hold her for a few minutes and then they took her away. It just sucked because I just never thought it would happen to me, because it was so easy with him. My mom's like, you're older now and your body changes. And I just felt like my body failed me,
Yeah.
I never got any breast milk with her either, so I was never able to breastfeed her.
Well, you missed like the key time to get that started too. So
yeah,
that's kind of expected.
So it was just horrible from the beginning to the end. I was like, I do not want to have any more kids.
You say that, and then your clock starts ticking, and
it's so funny because after Skylar, I lost a lot of weight and I'm going to the gym and everything. And then it was literally 2 days after my period ended in July of 2019, I got pregnant with Avery.
On accident or surprise, should we call it?
A big surprise. Big surprise. Huge. But when I found out I was pregnant with her, I feel so bad because I did not want any more kids, Right. And just mentally, I was not prepared to be pregnant again, just from all of that with Skylar, her having to go to the NICU and my blood pressure and everything. So when I got pregnant with Avery, it was really rough. I never got sick with her, which I'm super grateful for. I had a little bit of morning sickness, but it was not as bad as with Skylar.
Yeah.
I did get gestational with her, and I did get pre-eclampsia with her as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Manageable pre-eclampsia at least.
So I was 36. I delivered her at 36 and 6, I believe. 36 and 5, 36 and 6. I was in the hospital and they were monitoring my blood pressure, and it went up, down, up, down. And I thought they were going to let me go home, but they ended up keeping me. With her, everything was fine until I got my epidural. This time it was a lady who did it, and she actually did one, and it only numbed the left side. Oh. And then she pulled it out and she did it again, and she punctured my spinal fluid. She did it again and it worked. So that was 3 times, right?
Oh, geez.
When she punctured my spinal fluid, she had said it, but I'm in the middle of labor and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but okay, you know?
Yeah.
And so with Avery, it was the epidural that was the killer for me. I had her, everything was fine. I got to do my skin to skin. Her blood sugar was low, but they gave her that little sugar drink stuff. And she didn't have to go to the NICU. So that extra 6 days actually was like, yay, you know, you get to come home with me in a couple days, you know? So after my adrenaline leaves from having her, that's when the nightmare set in. I all of a sudden was really cold. I started shivering, like you know when you're so cold and your teeth chitter chatter. That's what it was doing. And then after the adrenaline left, I had the most debilitating headache that I have ever felt. Like I had this lay in fetal position, like I could not move. And they wanted to pull the catheter out and everything. So they wanted me to go to the bathroom. I needed help walking to the bathroom.
Oh, so it was a spinal headache from you got a spinal instead of an epidural for that one.
I had a spinal headache. Ugh. No, she gave me the epidural, but when my fluid when they puncture your spinal fluid is from what they've told me, when they puncture and it's leaking, you get it's worse than a migraine. Like it's right. I don't even know how to explain it. It felt like I wanted to die. It was that
and
bad.
You only could stay flat without it hurting. Like, were you good when you were flat?
Yes, I had to lay down the whole time. I couldn't move, nothing. Yeah. The main anesthesiologist came in and he was like, sometimes, it'll get better on its own. They started giving me Coca-Cola. So I'm like, okay. So I started drinking the Coca-Cola and they thought it was just, a caffeine headache or whatever. So then I'm like, all right. So I drank the Coca-Cola because he was like, what we're going to have to do is take blood from you, a blood patch, take blood from your body and put it in and do another epidural type of thing, but put the blood inside of your spine. I was like, oh no, let me just drink the Coke and see if that works. It didn't work. So he ended up leaving before I asked for the first blood patch. So the other anesthesiologist comes in and he does my blood patch. And they're like, you need to lay on your back for I think it was 4 hours or something. I had to lay on my back. He did it. And after the 4 hours, I got up and I thought it was okay, but my headache came back and it was still debilitating. And so they moved me from the delivery room to the postpartum room and I still could not move. And I remember being transferred from the delivery room with those nurses to the postpartum room. She was, oh my gosh, she was so rude. I don't remember her name, but she was so rude. She was I was literally crying from not being able to move or hold Avery because they're like, do you want to feed her? And I'm like, I can't even move, Yeah. And so they took her to the nursery because I couldn't do anything for her, And she's like, well, I think you should just get up. And I yelled at her and I was like, I cannot move. This is debilitating. I can't hold my baby. I need you to either, chill out and be nice or get me another nurse.
Wow.
Who's going to listen to me when I'm telling you, I feel like I'm going to die.
And what was her response to that?
She was like, okay, I'm going to go call somebody to see what we can do. So then the other anesthesiologist, the head guy at Johnston and Smithfield, he came back in the room again and he did another blood patch on me. So there was 3 nurses in there trying to get my blood and they couldn't get my blood for him to do it. So he came around and he had to find a vein and pull the blood out from my body to put in my spine again.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was 3, 4, 5 punctures to my spine in a matter of 24 hours.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
You must have been sore for a while after that.
Oh
your back.
my gosh. I was so sore. So sore. Like I couldn't even lay on my back like they wanted me to because it hurt so bad. Because you're supposed to lay on the back for the blood to clot, in the holes.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't because it was so painful. That was, I want to say, a Monday. So I left Tuesday. By Tuesday, I was fine. Monday night, I was okay. I was back to normal. And that nurse, the same nurse before she left, like she had like a total change of attitude because she was like, oh, crap, maybe she really was in pain,
Hopefully she learned a lesson from that to listen to her patient.
Definitely. I was like, I'm very like advocate for my kids, for myself, like for my husband. If you're not going to listen, give me somebody who will.
Right.
And I'm not faking it. They were trying to give me, narcotics, fentanyl, all this stuff. I said, I don't want it. It's not doing anything. So why are you going to keep giving it to me? Why keep giving me these medicines that aren't doing anything for me?
Yeah. Sometimes they do like a caffeine drip. So that's probably what the Coke was all about. But from what I've seen, it doesn't really help.
They wanted to give me, they gave me the Percocet and it did not work at all. Like I was in so much pain still. It did not do anything for me. And they're like, well, do you want more? No. Why am I going to get more if it didn't do anything for me the first time? You're not just going to keep dosing me with medicine,
Narcotics at that.
Right. That's how people get hooked.
Right.
You're not going to do that to me. I'm like, you guys need to find a solution that's going to put me back together to go home to my kids. I have 4 now. So I leave Tuesday and I think everything is fine. I go home. My baby's home. She didn't have to go to the NICU. Me and my husband, we turn on the new Bad Boys 3 movie, the Bad Boys for Life.
Mm-hmm.
We finish watching the movie. I go downstairs for some water. I come back upstairs and all of a sudden I'm freezing cold. Freezing. And I get that jittery sensation in my mouth again. And at the time, my husband was a smoker. So he was outside smoking. All of a sudden, I'm shaking uncontrollably. I cannot stop the shaking. And I drop my phone on the floor. And so I have to get off my bed to call my husband to come upstairs. So I'm stuck with just standing up on the floor and holding myself on the bed so I don't fall over, And so I call him and then all of a sudden I stop shaking and I'm frozen. Like I can't move my body at all.
Oh.
I can't move anything. So he helps me get on the bed and I'm stiff as a board. Like there's no moving my legs, my arms, my head, nothing. He ends up having to call 911 and the ambulance had to come and get me at 3 a.m. because I could not move my body, my head, nothing. And so when they take me, they have to take me back to Smithfield because that's where I delivered. So they took me all the way back to Smithfield and they told me that when I went in there, they're like, well, you have to do all this test, try to move your head and everything. And I'm like, I can't move anything. My whole body was so stiff. It was so weird.
You were breathing fine and all that though, right?
Yeah, fine, everything. But after the shaking, I just went stiff.
That is so weird.
Couldn't turn my head, couldn't move my fingers, couldn't move my toes, nothing. So when I went back to the hospital, like I could hear them talking outside of my room, And I told them, I was like, oh, look, I just left here yesterday. They did an x-ray on me, but I don't know what's wrong with this x-ray technician. When I'm telling him I have no control over my body, like he's like, oh, just stand right there. And I'm like, yo, I fall. Like you didn't know, like my whole body is stiff. Like he was like, oh, I have to lean you up against there then. Okay, well, dude, I'm going to fall. Oh my goodness. And then I go back into the room and they have to give me warm saline or something like that because they thought it was sepsis. So they had to do they did a sepsis workup on me just in case. They did the blood work. They had to do 3 rounds of blood work on me. They were looking at my chart because I heard the doctor talking they did all that to her spine. So I heard him say it, right? And they came back and told me, oh, you have a UTI.
What?
A UTI did not do that to me.
No kidding.
Yeah. You guys are full of it. Full of it. So I call my midwife the next day and I tell her what happens and she's pissed because they didn't call her at all. They're like, they call me for the stupidest reasons, but you just delivered yesterday and they didn't call me.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you were seen in labor and delivery triage, I'm assuming, or
no,
were you seen in the ER or triage?
Yeah, emergency department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she thinks that I had a uterine infection.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, they just let me go the next day at 8 a.m.
But you were literally watching a movie, came up from the stairs, and all of a sudden you're shivering and feeling like crap.
Yep.
That doesn't really, usually it's an infection is kind of a gradual workup to that. You can see signs coming a little bit sooner than just full blown fever, chills and,
right.
Near paralysis. I mean,
right. When they came, they were like, oh, you're at 105 degrees. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I tell you, I was fine. There was no fever, no nothing. I was normal. And all of a sudden I had 105-degree fever. Was
your abdomen tender or anything? Was it super painful when they touched you?
Nothing.
Wow. I don't know.
Me either. That's why I'm like, oh my gosh. My mom thinks it's from, when the anesthesiologist did all that stuff to hit my spine or something, something happened, but they don't want to say something happened, Yeah.
Maybe it was an infection there. I mean, who knows? Whatever antibiotics they gave you helped with that.
Mm-hmm. She put me on Keflex and then she turned it on and changed it to something else. I don't remember what it was though. It was 2 different antibiotics though that it was on.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And then I got my tubes removed in May.
You're like, bye.
Yeah. Oh no. That was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And I was like, oh, no. They're gone. They are gone. Right.
So they just kind of chalked it up to some kind of infection, whether it's UTI or uterine, and that was that.
That was that. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any back issues now because of it?
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
Oh, that's good. How long did the pain last, afterwards?
It didn't even... Once the blood patch and everything was healed, I think it took a couple days.
Oh, okay.
So after Avery, I was diagnosed again with postpartum depression. And I think it has a mixture of being pregnant the last 2 years, everything that's happened after each of these pregnancies and COVID. But my postpartum depression is so bad, mixed with just fighting with him every day. I was telling my husband, I cannot do this. My mental has gone down the drain.
Even still?
Yeah, even today, I went to my doctors and I'm like, this trazodone that you gave me is not working. Yes, it helps me sleep, but I still don't sleep through the night. My brain does not turn off,
Yeah.
So they put me on, what is it? Zoloft?
Oh, sertraline or Zoloft?
Yeah, that's all my thing. So, and I also do talk therapy every Thursday because it's too much. And then you don't really get alone time. And I have, my friends and they help me as much, but they have their own life, their own kids, families and stuff. And it's hard,
Yeah. Even not being postpartum, it's hard. It's when you feel so much is on you. I get that.
Yeah. And then I stress because my husband works for the state and he's he works 12-hour days when he is at work. So it's just a long day when he's gone.
I bet.
So
sometimes I'm excited for my 12-hour shifts on the weekend. Like,
I know.
I really need a vacation, but I have work this weekend, so that should be sufficient enough.
I know. It's just, if I go back to work, I'd literally just be paying for daycare. And now that we have 2, it's like my work would probably just pay for 1 because it's so expensive. That's why I stay home, because it's, feasible for me to just not work and stay home with the kids, because like I said, it's very expensive for daycare.
Yeah, we couldn't do it for sure. We just work opposite to each other. So I get it. First of all, I don't want to put my kids in daycare.
Right.
And secondly, I can't afford it. So.
Absolutely. Like, my friend's daughter, she's in daycare, and she is so smart because, they teach them and stuff. And I'm like, I try to work with my daughter, but my daughter, Skylar, she, the almost 2-year-old, she is in physical therapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy right now.
Oh, she is.
Yeah, she wasn't hitting her marks. Like, she wasn't sitting up on her own 6 to 7 months. She still does not walk without holding on to stuff.
Oh, okay. And does she talk?
She only says mama, dada, bruh, stuff like that. She does not have a conversation with us or anything like that. And with my daughter, Sophia, at 2, she was having full-on conversations with me. I was having videos of her, Mom, look, I'm a ballerina, like, it's weird how, each kid is different.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, but I took her to the ENT last week because I thought maybe she might need tubes in her ears. Maybe that's what's holding on to her speech delay.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, she can hear you perfectly fine. Like, her hearing is above average. She just is choosing to ignore you. And I looked at the doctor and I was like, yeah, I know she's that looks like they give like the resting baby face. She definitely has it. And he's like, some babies will just do things on their own. And I was like, oh, I've come to learn that about my Skylar. Like, she's going to walk on her own. She's going to talk on her own. She's going to do everything in her own terms. Like, she didn't go in the crib until she was ready. She would literally cry all night long until we went to go get her. She would, how some babies can cry themselves to sleep?
Yeah.
Not Skylar.
Stubborn.
She's her daddy's daughter, and she is her daddy in a girl's body.
Oh, boy.
A run for my money. Okay. She's going to be my headache and my heart all in the same thing, because she is so stubborn. And I'll be like, Skylar, bring this to me. And she'll just straight up ignore you. And I'm like, I know you can hear me.
Yeah.
I got your ears checked, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, because they were throwing out autism for her too, her doctor's office. And I'm like, I don't see it. Like, with my son, I saw it. Now that I didn't see it then, but now that I look back and he got diagnosed and I read all the paperwork and did all the questionnaires and everything like that. Okay. With her, I don't see it. There's no tantrums. She doesn't throw tantrums. She doesn't walk on her tippy toes like my son does still now to this day,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it. And, there's different, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, like they say, like, every kid's like different. Like, there's not one single kid that's exactly like another when it comes to autism.
Right. But just with all the paperwork I've done on Riley, like, it doesn't add up with her.
Yeah.
As she's delayed, I'm like, she can do it. She can stand up on her own. But when she knows that nobody's behind her, or she knows, like, when she's not really paying attention to standing up, she freaks herself out. It's like she's scared to do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know about you, but I was joking with my husband because I'm like, you know what? Probably in her past life, she probably like fell and died or something. That's why she's so
jeez.
so scared to walk, and he just looks at me like, you're crazy, you know? Everyone was different. Riley's my hardest child, but he was my easiest pregnancy.
I know. It's like, what would you rather have had? You know,
Right?
But they're so like, not like unique, my oldest, like their personalities are so different from each other.
Absolutely. And I feel like Avery, she's only 7 months, but that little girl, she has an old soul, and I can see it already.
Yeah. Now, were you able to breastfeed her, or did you choose not to because it didn't work out with the last one?
I got a little bit. I would only get like half an ounce every time I would pump, and she wouldn't latch properly. Same with Riley. That's why I pumped. But I guess when I started researching after, my pump sucked. It wasn't a good pump. And I tried, the cookies, I tried the pills, I tried everything, and nothing seemed to work. So I just got frustrated, and I just stopped,
Yeah.
Because it was hurting, and she wasn't latching properly. And I felt like she was going to rip my nipple off. So I'm like, I can't do this, and everyone's like, you got to still do it. And I'm like, look, I get it. I do, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And you need mental sanity. If you're not into it and you're not, willing to go, and that's totally fine. But if you're not like all into it, like emotionally, it's not going to work anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. You've had a terrible postpartum, and you just want to, you just need your mental sanity. So
right.
Yeah. A lot of we have like all these, baby friendly and, breastfeeding friendly hospitals, which mine is too, but we're like, fed is best, really. And most of us are like, as long as this baby's getting fed and it's healthy, that's fine. Like, it's
absolutely.
You can't push a mom into breastfeeding if it's just not in the cards for her.
Yeah. My cousin works at UNC Chapel Hill in labor and delivery. And she was like, just, go see one of the ladies and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I will. But she's like, don't stress yourself out. As long as she's eating, then that's good. If it's formula, that's fine. If it's formula and breast milk, great.
Yeah.
It was just like rough because everyone was like, breastfeed. And I'm like, I'm about to block all of you. Get off my phone. Get off my phone.
Your baby is missing out because you're not giving her colostrum.
I know. Everyone's like, well, why don't you, see about donor milk? And I'm like, I don't know these people. Like, how do I know that these moms aren't like giving their breast milk with narcotics in it?
Right. And not everyone's as like aware of all the risks with medications and going through breast milk and all that.
And it's like, there's Facebook, groups or whatever. And I was like, look, I don't trust people. I don't trust people at all,
Yeah.
So I know I wouldn't do it, but that's not saying somebody else wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. People are crazy.
Yeah. I mean, if it was like a medical necessity, like they needed it because of allergies to formula and whatnot, like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to each their own, really. One of the questions I've been trying to ask, like each podcast, I don't think I did last time, but just to help me as as a labor and delivery nurse, is like any tips that you'd give to your nurses based on like your experiences.
I've had some really great labor and delivery nurses. Awesome. Just, listen to your patient basically, and sometimes I know I'm dramatic, but if they're like in severe pain or they can't even pick up their baby, like, something's wrong,
Right. And well, I mean, you had kind of extenuating circumstances for like your leading up to the birth and delivery, but how on Clayton Moms Group, they're always asking, what do I bring to the hospital? What should I bring? Like, did you do anything to prepare for like your births or anything?
I had my bag packed for Avery. I didn't know I was going to be in the hospital for Skylar, so I just had my husband bring the stuff. But I met a nurse and she said, always put your baby in your regular clothes, just so you can like tell the difference between the babies. She was like, because they're stealing babies out here, and she scared the crap out of me. I did not want him to leave my side at all, but now they have like bands and everything like that. So
yeah,
like he was low jacked, so I mean, clothes. I always tell like my friend, she just delivered her baby. I said, girl, you don't really have to bring a lot. They have a lot of stuff for you. Just clothes, your stuff, just like your necessities.
Yeah. So no like weird must-haves like
I didn't know.
You needed. Yeah.
I mean, I brought my own pillow because my pillow is really comfortable, and I brought my own blanket just because the hospital blankets kind of suck.
Yeah.
So I brought my own like little blanket and pillow.
It's a good idea.
And shower shoes. Bring your shower shoes.
Yes. Ugh. Yes. I have a thing about showers and athlete's foot. Ooh.
Like we went to like an Airbnb at the beach this past weekend, and I still wore showers in the shower.
So, do you have anything to add to your story?
No, I think that's it. That's from what I can remember, because it was rough. So
yeah, a lot of people don't realize like just how dangerous preeclampsia it can be. Like you, like actually, I know your labors were horrible, but that's really good that you made it that far and like that it wasn't so severe. Like, did they have to treat your blood pressures or anything with medication?
I actually had to take medicine after, because my blood pressure after I delivered, well, Skylar went back to normal, but with Avery, I had to be on, what is that one? It's called what is it? Labetalol.
Oh, labetalol. Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, I still go to my doctor every couple of weeks just to get it checked. And it's like, just not today. So today it was like 128/87. But then like when I went 3 weeks ago, it was like 180 something over like 100 and something.
Oh, so you're still on it.
Yeah. So they told me not to do the labetalol. She actually put me on like hydrochlorothiazide. It's like a
hydrochlorothiazide.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
so I'm on that right now. So I think that's what my blood pressure was. She thought it would be way higher because I had like a moment this morning. I was like freaking out, and she was super surprised that it wasn't higher after I was like crying. So,
so it's probably more just related to you versus like postpartum at this point. Then I would assume.
That's what I'm thinking too. So
yeah. I think like they watch you for at least like 6 weeks after, because you could still have postpartum preeclampsia. But after that, I don't know what the cutoff is as far as like when it's not really preeclampsia and just basic chronic hypertension.
Yeah. So they said I did have that because my blood pressure was still really high. Like I would have to go in and get it checked out. And it wasn't. So the last time I did go, it wasn't high for them to be super like concerned,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just at my primary, and she just put me on that medicine so it'd bring down my blood pressure, and also like take away some of that water retention that I have. And she thinks that's probably why my blood pressure was so high, because of the water retention. So I guess it is working, because my blood pressure was, semi normal, I guess, today.
When you were in labor, or like when they were working you up for preeclampsia, did they ever give you magnesium?
Oh yes, I had magnesium with Riley, Skylar, and because I had postpartum hypertension with Riley, so I remember getting magnesium with him. And with Skylar, I had it that like whole week I was there, and it never did bring it down or anything like that. So then I had to do it after too. And then with Avery, I did have magnesium as well.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? I haven't had it, but I hate giving it to patients. It just makes them feel so crappy.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's the worst.
And then they have to wake you every hour and check your reflexes, ask you all the questions, headache, dizziness, nausea, epigastric pain, anything like that.
Right. And the worst thing is, I did not remember with Skylar, Riley, was the whole pressing on your belly thing. Oh my gosh.
Oh, after you had them.
Yeah, that fundal something.
Fundal rub.
Oh my gosh. I like when I had it with Skylar, I was like, why are you abusing me right now? Like, right. This is rude. This is so rude. And she was like, you don't remember this? I said, no, this never happened to me. They never did that to me.
It's funny. I've had 4 because I was a surrogate once and I have 3 of my own. And I literally maybe remember one fundal rub out of all of them. And when I'm at work, I mean, we do it every 15 minutes for the first 2 hours after delivery. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't think I ever had this before. Like, maybe things are just done differently in Boston. I mean, who knows? But, people, and I've seen some nurses really like, I mean, if you're having some active bleeding and you need to firm it up, you have to rub real hard. Yeah. But in some cases, it's like the bleeding's not that bad. You don't really have to dig for her whole entire uterus. So, it's.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I swear I did not have that with Riley in California. I do not remember them rubbing on my belly like that. And that was in 2011 I had him. I was like, this is new. This never happened to me. Like, I've never, ever, ever had this happen to me until I delivered Skylar. And I did it again with Avery, which I was, I kind of saw coming because with Skylar. Yeah. But okay, so you don't remember. I'm pretty sure they don't do that in California either.
We'll just stick with that. But we also have to remember too, that was like 9 years ago.
That's true. Things changed.
So the ACOG recommendations probably have changed since, back then.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. I wish they would change back, like, every half hour, not every 15 minutes, something. Like, it's just sometimes it's a little excessive.
I know, it's rude. Like, we just delivered a baby and you guys want to rub on our bellies? Like, oh my gosh.
It could still be fresh in your head too. Like, in 5 years, you might be like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember something like that.
I'm always going to remember that pain. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you so much for being on. I feel like we have like so much in common. Like, this was crazy. Like, you've been through I've never been through pre-eclampsia or diagnosed gestational diabetes, but I've been, the whole autism thing and all that. It's
rough.
Gives you a run for your money.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, it does. And oh my goodness, I give you props for keeping him out of school if you do. And if you don't, I do not blame you because I am there and my mental cannot handle it. I'm not a teacher. And it's funny because his second grade teacher's son plays baseball with him on a different team. And I was talking to her and I had asked her, I said, he never gave you any problems? She said, no, he never gave me any problems. He is so smart. He knows, he's very smart. He never gave me no issues. Even his assistant principal was telling me he really grew up, I haven't, seen him with any meltdowns, outbursts, nothing. And I'm like, who are you when you're at school and why can't you give him to me when you're at home,
I say that to my oldest. I'm like, would you ever treat your teacher like this? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, then I'm your teacher right now. Stop being a little, what?
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Seriously.
Because mine's 12, 9, and 2. I think ours are probably maybe a month and a half apart. He's September 23rd. So, but my 2-year-old's not talking at all. Like, he doesn't even, he was talking a little bit and now he's not saying anything. So I'm concerned about that, but.
Oh, the regression. That's what they were saying. Did she regress or is she just not saying more words? I go, no, she didn't regress. She's just not saying any more words and she's not, formulating sentences. So we have had her, usually they said speech therapy works after 2, but we started speech therapy before. She'll be 2 next month. So definitely looking, well, I don't know where you are, but she goes to Now We're Talking right here in Garner off of, I always get these roads mixed up. Old State.
Now We're Talking?
Yeah, Now We're Talking.
Okay.
And they do speech, occupational, physical. It's
and you take her there.
I take her there. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So my insurance apparently sucks. Like, I guess it's like $80 something a visit, and for like a half hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it doesn't change like if you have an autism diagnosis, because I know if you work at Wake Med, if you have an autism diagnosis, they cover it in full. Which I'm like 90% sure that something's going on. Like, he would very easily get an autism diagnosis at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's really expensive. Like, I might have to like take out an extra, a loan just to pay for the freaking deductible for this kid.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
And when we were back home, I don't know if they even offer it over here. We used to have home ABA therapy. So I don't know if you get. Oh, they do. Okay. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was great because it's one-on-one and you're in your own environment and, it works great.
Look into CDSA.
What is it?
CDSA.
C like Charlie?
Yes. Charlie, Delta, Sam, Alpha.
Okay.
CDSA. I'm about to Google it and see right here. Children's Developmental Services Agency.
Oh, is that they kind of help you get services or? Yes.
And so with Skylar, she has CDSA. She has play therapy. Her play therapist comes every Tuesday and they come in the house. She sings, she plays, she tries to get her to walk, she tries to get her to talk. She will be able to do early childhood development. You know how kids can go to school earlier? She'll be able to go to school at 3 and I won't have to pay for it because she has the CDSA on her side, right? So I would definitely look into that for her. It's early intervention. It's a toddler program.
Okay.
And if he, they do get services, if he gets services for it, he will be able to go to school at 3.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And that's going to come up quick. So, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because that's what we used to do, like an early intervention play group for my oldest, pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. And that was awesome. And then my second was just like a typical kid, but they would have typical kids go to the play group to kind of like be like a peer role model for the other kids. Mm-hmm. So I used to bring him to that and, they would kind of like to show them like, oh, like, look at this kid talking or whatever, or playing appropriately and all that.
So, I don't know if you're in Johnston County or Wake County, but the Rocky Mount office does the Johnston. So they just usually call and they'll ask you a bunch of questions. Like we did it over like a video chat and then they got to see Skylar and everything like that. And then her person, her name is Takia, and she is like her, I don't even know I forget what the name is, but that's like her person who I would talk to for anything.
Like a caseworker type of person?
Yeah, there we go. Caseworker.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that was for CDSA?
CDSA. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I might be contacting you about this again later.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely do.
That would be really awesome. I feel like a lot of moms have like no clue about any of it. Like when I had my first, like I thought like they said, oh, we can refer him to the special ed program at, in preschool. I was like, he's not doing special ed. Like he's not like mentally retarded or, he doesn't have anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I was like very like naive. I mean, I was 22 years old. I had no clue what the heck I was doing, but like, I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like he's fine. Like he's going to stay in his private, pre-K and
California. They literally told me, oh, he has only child syndrome.
What?
Girl, yes. They told me, oh, he has only child syndrome and he doesn't have to work for your attention.
Oh my God. I'm looking that up. I'm going to see if that's an actual diagnosis.
Because my mom was like, he needs speech therapy, and I'm like, okay, like I'm going to talk to his doctor about it. Oh, he's fine. He's a boy. Boys, what did they tell me? Boys develop slower than girls. And since he's the only child, he has only child syndrome. He doesn't have to work or compete for your attention. That's exactly what they told me.
What? So I literally just looked it up. Just characteristics of only child syndrome are described as spoiled, selfish, self-absorbed, maladjusted, bossy, antisocial, and lonely. What? And they're only spoiled because they're accustomed to getting whatever they want from their parents, including undivided attention. That's some crap.
Right? Precisely. I was like, oh, wow, dude. You guys are crazy, but okay. Whatever you say, you're the doctor.
I'd like to tell them my kid had like a half-assed diagnosis like that. Like, I don't know if this is a diagnosis, but will this get him services? Because that's what we need. Like, wow.
Yep.
All right. Well, it was nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too. Thank you for hearing me rant about my stories.
Oh, no problem. I love it. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this incredible mom story today. I really hope you enjoyed it and that it may have helped you in some way. Make sure you rate and leave a comment so I can be sure to bring you the content that you really want. Please follow the Incredible Moms podcast on Instagram, where you'll also be able to find many updates and episodes. I can't tell you how much I appreciate any support. Stay tuned for another Incredible Mom next week.